Mr. President, thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start with the debate. You and your team have said you had a bad night, but
Sure did.
But your friend Nancy Pelosi actually framed the question that I think is on the minds of millions of Americans.
Bro, this dude's already cooked. He's already cooked. Look at him. He's gone. This dude is already done. Holy sh**.
Was this a bad episode or the sign of a more serious condition?
It was a bad episode. No indication of any serious condition. I was exhausted. I didn't listen to my instincts in terms of preparing, and I had a bad night.
You know, you say you were exhausted, and
This is an interview that's supposed to make him look good. He looks like he just woke up. And he's 100% orange. He's gone full orange, man. Just put the Trump hair on you at this point, bro. Holy crap.
and I know you've said that before as well, but you came, and you did have a tough month, but you came home from Europe about 11 or 12 days before the debate, spent 6 days in Camp David. Why wasn't that enough rest time, enough recovery time?
Because I was sick. I was feeling terrible. Matter of fact, the docs with me, I asked if they did a COVID test because they're trying to figure out what was wrong. They did a test to see whether or not I had some infection, you know, a virus. I didn't. They just had a really bad cold.
And did you ever watch the debate afterwards?
I don't think I did, no.
Well, what I want to...
You don't think you did? What do you mean you don't think? Did you watch the debate afterwards, Mr. President? That's a yes or no question. That's all you have to do is say yes or no. And he said, I don't think I did.
Get at is, what were you experiencing as you were going through the debate? Did you know how badly it was going?
Yeah, look, the whole way I prepared, nobody's fault, mine. Nobody's fault but mine. I prepared what I usually would do, sitting down, as I did come back with foreign leaders or the National Security Council, for explicit detail. And I realized about partway through that, you know, I get quoted, the New York Times had me down at 10 points before the debate, 9 now, or whatever the hell it is. The fact of the matter is that
I can't help but think again. We're talking about the Disney-owned ABC. We're talking about a hack journalist that hates Donald Trump sitting across from him. We are talking about this is supposed to be presenting Joe Biden in the best possible way. And he looks and sounds terrible. And this is the best they can present to try and offset the disaster of the debate. Oh my goodness. The best thing they got going for him is the orange man bad tan.
what I looked at is that he also lied 28 times. I mean, the way the debate ran, not my fault, no one else's fault. No one else's fault.
But it seemed like you were having trouble from the first question in, even before he spoke.
Look at him.
Well, I just had a bad night. You've had some bad interviews once in a while. I can't remember any, but I'm sure you did.
I've had plenty.
You know, this is the presidential debate. You know who didn't have a bad night in Game 7? Michael Jordan doesn't have bad nights. You're the president of the United States of America, and you say that Donald Trump is the most evil human being that's ever existed, and we have to stop him for the sake of democracy so he doesn't become a dictator. Just had a bad night. It's not a big deal. It's just a regular season game. It's not like it's the finals. No, Mr. President, it actually is the finals. This is actually a very crucial moment right here for you. Good Lord.
I guess the question, the problem is here for a lot of Americans watching is you've said, going back to 2020, watch me, to people who are concerned about your age. And, you know, 50 million Americans watched that debate. It seemed to confirm fears they already had.
Well, look, after that debate, I did 10 major events in a row, including until 2 o'clock in the morning after that debate. I did events in North Carolina. I did events in Georgia. Did events like this today. Large crowds, overwhelming response, no slipping. And so I just had a bad night. I don't know why.
And how quickly did it come to you that you were having that bad night?
Well, came to me as having a bad night when I realized that even when I was answering a question, even though they turned his mic off, he was still shouting.
Oh.
And I let it distract me. I'm not blaming it on that.
Oh, no. Did this dude? Oh, my God. Bro, Biden, they gave you every single thing that you wanted. They gave you every freaking advantage. And you're God, this is a bad interview. This is a really bad interview. I cannot believe that this is what they're going with. Biden's done on Monday. I'm starting to believe it now. We heard the reports that Joe Biden's stepping down on Monday. This interview does not help at all. This is a bad interview, and we're only a couple of minutes into it.
But I realized that I just wasn't in control.
But part of the other concern is that this seems to have fit into a pattern of decline that has been reported on recently. New York Times had a headline on July 2nd, Biden's lapses are said to be increasingly common and worrisome. Here's what they wrote. People who have spent time with President Biden over the last few months or so said the lapses appear to have grown more frequent, more pronounced, and after Thursday's debate, more worrisome. By many accounts, as evidenced by video footage, observation, and interviews, Mr. Biden is not the same today as he was even when he took office 3.5 years ago. Similar reporting in the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal. Are you the same man today that you were when you took office 3.5 years ago?
In terms of successes, yes. I also was the guy who put together a peace plan for the Middle East that may be coming to fruition. I was also the guy that expanded NATO. I was also the guy that grew the economy. All the individual things that were done were ideas I had or I fulfilled. I moved on. And so, for example, well, that was true then. What's Biden done lately? Today, just announced 200,000 new jobs. We're moving in a direction that no one's ever taken on. I know you know this from the days in the government. I took on Big Pharma. I beat them. No one said I could beat them. I took on all the things we said we got done. We're told we couldn't get done. And part of it is what I said when I ran was I wanted to do three things. Restore some decency to the office. Restore some support for the middle class instead of trickle-down economics.
Hey, George, you going to ask him, when you say restoring decency, what part of decency is decent when they found cocaine in the White House, Mr. President? Is that decency? Or having mentally deranged people running around on the White House lawn and taking pictures? Is that bringing decency back to the White House, Mr. President? I'm sure George Stephanopoulos is going to ask him that. I'm sure he's going to ask him about the cocaine in the White House. Has a reporter to this day asked Joe Biden about cocaine in the White House? Has one reporter directly asked him to his face? I don't know the answer to that question. I haven't seen it.
It's built from the middle out and the bottom up. The way the wealthy still do fine, everyone does better. And unite the country.
But what has all that work over the last 3.5 years cost you physically, mentally, emotionally?
Well, I just think it cost me a really bad night, a bad run. But,
Whoa, hang on. What?
Work over the last...
We still do class instead of trickle-down economics built from the middle out and the bottom up. The way the wealthy still do fine, everyone does better. And unite the country.
But what has all that work over the last 3.5 years cost you physically, mentally, emotionally?
Well, I just think it cost me a really bad night.
Oh, my God. What a bad answer. And do you know why he keeps going back to bad night? Because that's what they've kind of basically, they've prepped him to say that. Mr. President, your safe word, your safe answer is bad night. So if they ask you a question that just confused you, like, I had a bad night. He didn't understand the question. He didn't understand how to answer the question. So he just said, I just had a bad night. Oh, my God. For the first time in a long time, I actually believe ABC probably did not edit this interview. This is fucking horrendous. This is horrendous. Holy shit.
Bad run. But, you know,
He's
George,
thinking.
I'm optimistic about this country.
Oh.
I don't think we're a country of losers, that he points out. I don't think America's in tough shape. I think America's on the cusp of breaking through in so many incredible opportunities. This next term, I'm going to make sure we have straighten out the tax system. I'm going to make sure we're in a situation where we have health care for all people, where we're in a position where we have child care and elder care, free up, and all these things. The one thing I'm proudest of is, remember when my economic plan was put forward, a lot of the mainstream economists said it's not going to work. Well, guess what? We now have 16 Nobel laureates, 16 of them in economics, saying that Biden's next term would be, based on what he wants to do, enormous success. Trump's plan would cause a recession, would significantly increase inflation. I've made great progress, and that's what I plan on doing, and we can do this.
I understand that, and I'm not disputing that. What I'm asking you is about your personal situation. Do you
Yeah. He didn't understand the question, and he just gave you his prepared answers because that was his safe answer to go on campaign monologue, basically. He didn't even understand it. I'm glad, at least Stephanopoulos is following up on it.
I'm not disputing that. What I'm asking you is about your personal situation. Do you dispute that there have been more lapses, especially in the last several months?
Can I run the 110 flat? No, but I'm still in good shape.
Are you more frail?
No.
I know you
Come
spoke.
keep my schedule.
I know you spoke with your doctor after the debate. What did he say?
He said, he just looked at me and said, "You're exhausted."
He just looked at you.
I have medical doctors travel me every.
He just looked at me. He just looked at me and said, "You're exhausted." Oh, my God. Again, I want to repeat what I've said many times. This interview was meant to take care of all the concerns about Joe Biden. This interview was supposed to be him in tip-top shape. This was the interview he was going to go, "Hey, folks, I'm not going anywhere. I'm here to the end. I'm fighting." I got to believe that the campaign's prancing him out here just to make him look worse and worse, because this is a horrible interview.
Where every president does, as you know. Medical doctors, some of the best in the world, travel me everywhere I go. I have an ongoing assessment of what I'm doing. They don't hesitate to tell me if they think there's something wrong.
I know you said you have an ongoing assessment. Have you had a full neurological and cognitive evaluation?
I get a full neurological test every day with me. And I've had a full physical. I had,
What?
I've been at Walter Reed for my physicals. Yes. The answer is
I know your doctor said he consulted with a neurologist. I guess I'm asking a slightly different question. Have you had the specific cognitive tests?
He said every day. You said every day. But earlier when he asked you what's your doctor, how does your doctor handle it after the debate, he's like, he just looked at me. He said, "You're exhausted." What? I have to believe the campaign is putting him out here because they know that he's on borrowed time now. They know that he's going to be announcing he's going to leave. That's what I have to believe with this. This is unbelievable.
And have you had a neurologist, a specialist, do an examination?
no one said I had to. No one said, they said I'm good.
You just said you've had one
Would you be
every
willing
day.
to undergo an independent medical evaluation that included neurological and cognitive tests and release the results to the American people?
Look, I have a cognitive test every single day. Every day I have that test. Everything I do. Not only am I campaigning, but I'm running the world. And that's not how it sounds like hyperbole. But we are the essential nation in the world. Madeleine Albright was right. And every single day, for example, today, before I come out here, I'm on the phone with.
It's over. Like, I did a video on the reports that he's going to be stepping down on Monday. This has to be part of the plan. This is fucking horrendous. I can't believe how bad this is. And also, this just shows how much the media has protected him up to this point. Not that I needed to know that, not that you needed to know that, but it's obvious how much the media has protected this man and how the campaign has protected this man against what everything else that we've known. We've all known that this is who he's been for years, and they have protected him until that debate where he got completely exposed. Just a few weeks ago, Joe Scarborough sat there on MSNBC and said, "This is the best version of Biden I've ever seen. He's sharper than I've ever seen him." Absolutely insane, dude. Holy crap.
It sounds like hyperbole, but we are the essential nation in the world. Madeleine Albright was right. And every single day, for example, today, before I come out here, I'm on the phone with the Prime Minister of, anyway, I shouldn't get into detail, but with Netanyahu. I'm on the phone with the new Prime Minister of England. I'm working on what we were doing with regard to...
He forgot the Prime Minister's name. Oh my God.
Today, before I come out here, I'm on the phone with the Prime Minister of, anyway, I shouldn't get into detail, but with Netanyahu. I'm on the phone with the new Prime Minister of England. I'm working on what we're doing with regard to, in Europe, with regard to expansion of NATO and whether it's going to stick. I'm taking on Putin. I mean, every day, there's no day I go through, there are not those decisions I have to make every single day.
And you have been doing that, and the American people have been watching, yet their concerns about your age and your health are growing. So that's why I'm asking, to reassure them, would you be willing to...
Like, it's obvious. Hang on, I want to go back to like, look at him. Okay, so we've all been in that position of, family members, loved ones, or whatever, where they've gotten older and you're talking to them. And it's clear that the lights are on, but nobody's home. That's exactly this conversation. The lights are on, but nobody's home. This is not a actual conversation. This is not a discussion. This is not an interview. We've all seen this in our own personal lives with, older family members that we obviously love, and it's hard to see that. That's exactly what is going on right now. This man is not there. He's gone. And he's been gone for a long time. And the same people that are telling you that Donald Trump is the worst thing ever and the worst person of all time, they're telling you Joe Biden's just fine, and they've been covering all this shit up for years.
Health are growing, so that's why I'm asking, to reassure them, would you be willing to have the independent medical evaluation?
Watch me there's a lot of time left in this campaign. It's over 125 days.
So the
Make a decision.
The right answer right now is no, you don't want to do that right
No,
now.
I've already done it.
You talked a lot about your successes at the beginning of this interview, and I don't want to dispute that. I don't want to debate that. But as you know, elections are about the future, not the past. They're about tomorrow, not yesterday. And the question on so many people's minds right now is, can you serve effectively for the next 4 years?
George, I'm the guy that put NATO together, the future. No one thought I could expand it. I'm the guy that shut Putin down. No one thought could happen. I'm the guy that put together the South Pacific.
What? What? I got to hear that one more time.
Together, the future. No one thought I could expand it. I'm the guy that shut Putin down. No one thought could happen.
He's the guy that shut Putin down? What the hell are we witnessing right now? Oh my God. Putin literally has had his way since you stepped in office. Just a few days ago, Putin commented on Donald Trump. He says, "I love Trump's plan to end the war in Ukraine." Good Lord, man. Holy shit. That right there, done. Like, there's no defense, man.
I'm the guy that put together the South Pacific Initiative with AUKUS. I'm the guy that got 50 nations, out, not only in Europe, outside of Europe as well, to help Ukraine. I'm the guy that got Japanese to expand their budget. So, I mean, and for example, when I decided we used to have 40% of the computer chip, and we invented the chip, that little chip, the computer chip. It's in everything from cell phone to weapons. And so we used to have 40%, we're down to virtually nothing. So I get in the plane against the advice of everybody, and I fly to South Korea. I convinced them to invest in the United States, billions of dollars. Now we have tens of billions of dollars being invested in the United States, making us back in a position where we're going to own that industry again. We have, I mean, I just, anyway, I don't want to take too much credit. I have a great staff.
But all the, I guess my point.
What? You just took credit for shit you haven't done. You just took credit for everything, and you just made shit up that you didn't even do. Good God. This is so bad. I am truly astonished at how bad this is. And I'm always skeptical. This is by design. I am refusing to believe that this was meant to make him look good. The longer this goes, I absolutely believe this is by design. They rolled him out here to make a fool of himself so that they can get rid of him sooner than later. There is no fucking way that I believe that they aren't in control of this.
I just, anyway, I don't want to take too much credit. I have a great staff.
But I guess my point is, all that takes a toll. Do you have the mental and physical capacity to do it for another 4 years?
I believe so. I wouldn't be running if I didn't think I did. Look, I'm running again because I think I understand best what has to be done to take this nation to a completely new level. We're on our way. And look, the decision recently made by the Supreme Court on immunity, you know, the next president of the United States, it's not just about whether he or she knows what they're doing. It's not about a conglomerate of people making decisions. It's about the character of the president. The character of the president is going to determine whether or not this Constitution is employed the right way.
The character of the president? You mean the type of person that would maybe utilize the United States judicial system to go after his political opponent because his political opponent is beating him? Would you kind of say that would go into the character of the president? Or maybe the fact that your crackhead son has benefited from all of these foreign deals all around the world, or maybe the fact that there was cocaine found in the White House, or maybe the fact that you've literally let illegal immigration just overrun this fucking country since you got into office. Maybe you've got us into too many wars right now, and we're on the verge of World War III. Maybe that's a problem. Good Lord.
Let me ask you a tougher, more personal question. Are you sure you're being honest with yourself when you say you have the mental and physical capacity to serve another 4 years?
Yes, I am, because, George, the last thing I want to do is not be able to meet that. I think, as some of the senior economists and senior foreign policy specialists say, if I stop now, I'd go down in history as a pretty successful president. No one thought I could get done what we got done.
But are you being honest with yourself as well about your ability to defeat Donald Trump right now?
Yes. Yes.
You say that, and let me challenge you.
Sure.
Because you were close, but behind going into the debate. You're further behind now, by any measure. It's been a two-man race for several months. Inflation has come down. In those last few months, he's become a convicted felon, yet you're still falling further behind.
You guys keep saying that. George, look, you know polling better than anybody. Do you think polling data is accurate as it used to be?
I don't think so, but I think when you look at all of the polling data right now, it shows that he's certainly ahead in the popular vote, probably even more ahead in the battleground states. And one of the other key factors there is it shows that in many of the battleground states, the Democrats who are running for Senate and the House are doing better than you are.
Well, that's not unusual in some states. I carried an awful lot of Democrats last time I ran in 2020. Look, I remember them telling me the same thing in 2020. I can't win. The polls show I can't win. Remember 2020, the red wave was coming. Before the vote, I said that's not going to happen. We're going to win. We did better in an off year than almost any incumbent president.
Yeah, we all remember 2020, Joe Biden. We all remember 2020. We all remember the water pipes breaking. We all remember the voting stopping in the middle of the night when Trump was in the lead. We all remember that, as a matter of fact. We all remember that. Thank you for reminding us.
Ever has done. They said in 2023, all the tough races we're not going to win. I went into all those areas, all those districts, and we won.
All that is true, but 2020 was a close race. And your approval rating has dropped significantly since then. I think the last poll I saw was at about 36%. The number of Americans who think you're too old to serve has doubled since 2020. Wouldn't a clear-eyed political calculus tell you?
I don't think he's ever been told these things. I don't think that Joe Biden's actually been told how unpopular he is. I think the people that have been around him have been feeding him bullshit. I don't think he's ever been told how unpopular he is. And I think that there's like it's kind of hitting him right there, but not really, because he can't really process shit, you know?
Tell you that it's going to be much tougher to win in 2024?
Not when you're running against a pathological liar. Not when he hadn't been challenged in a way that he's about to be challenged. Not when people...
You've had months to challenge him.
Oh, I sure had months.
Just had a debate with him, you lost.
Other things, like wars around the world, like keeping NATO together, like working... Anyway. But look...
Do you really believe you're not behind right now?
I think it's... all the pollsters I talk to tell me it's a toss-up.
Oh!
It's a toss-up. And when I'm behind... There's only one poll I'm really far behind, CBS poll and NBC, and...
New York Times and NBC both have you about 6 points behind in the popular vote.
That's exactly right. New York Times had me behind before anything happened to do with this race. Had me behind 10 points. 10 points had me behind. Nothing's changed substantially in the debate.
When did the New York Times have him behind 10 points? When did that ever happen?
Just when you look at the reality, though, Mr. President, I mean, you won the popular vote in 2020, but it was still deadly close in the Electoral
By
College.
7 million votes.
Yes, but you're behind now in the popular vote.
I don't buy that.
Is it worth the risk?
I don't think anybody's more qualified to be president or win this race than me.
Wow.
You know, the heart of your case against Donald Trump is that he's only out for himself, putting his personal interest ahead of the national interest. How do you respond to critics who say that by staying in the race, you're doing the same thing?
Oh, come on. Well, I don't think those critics know what they're talking about.
They're just wrong?
It's wrong. Look, Trump is a pathological liar. Trump is, he is... Have you ever seen anything Trump did that benefited somebody else, not him?
I can recall, not a lot of people know about this, Joe. Not a lot of people know about this, but I can recall Donald Trump being the president of the United States of America and literally every single American having a better life then than they do now. Yeah, I can recall that. I can recall that pretty clearly, Joe Biden. Holy shit.
You can't answer, I know.
I've questioned him and his allies as persistently as any journalist has.
No, I know you have. I'm not being
Yeah.
critical.
Yeah.
I'm not being critical. But look, I mean, the man is a congenital liar. As I said, they pointed out in that debate he lied 28 times the times, or whatever number, over 20 times. Talk about how good his economy was, how he brought down inflation, how this is a guy who, unlike only other president other than him is Hoover, lost more jobs than he created. This is a guy who told us to put bleach in our arms to deal with COVID, with over a million people died. This is a guy who talks about wanting to get rid of
Did he say congenital?
healthcare prevention.
I thought he said pathological. Did I miss that? He said pathological so many times.
who, unlike only other president other than him is Hoover, lost more jobs than he created. About how he's the liar. The man is a congenital liar.
I thought he
As I
said,
said,
he's already said pathological so many times. Holy shit. I didn't catch that, chat, until you guys said something. Oh my God. Good Lord, bro. What the fuck is happening right now?
they pointed out in that debate he lied 27, 28 times the time.
He was thinking. He's like, congenital liar. What?
Being critical. But look, I mean,
Watch. So he's thinking right here. So the talking points for him is you call Donald Trump a pathological liar. You just say pathological liar over and over again. And if you keep saying that, that's what the people are going to think, Mr. President. Just say pathological liar. And he forgot pathological.
the man is a congenital liar. As I said, they pointed out in that debate he lied 27, 28 times the times, or whatever number, over 20 times. Talk about how good his economy was, how he brought down inflation, how this is a guy who, unlike only other president other than him is Hoover, lost more jobs than he created. This is a guy who told us to put bleach in our arms to deal with COVID, with over a million people died. This is a guy who talks about wanting to get rid of the healthcare provisions we put in place. This is a guy who wants to give the power back to big pharma to be able to charge exorbitant prices for drugs. This is a guy who wants to undo every single thing I've done. Every single thing.
I understand that, and I understand that's why you want to stay in the race, but have you convinced yourself that only you can defeat him?
I convinced myself of two things. I'm the most qualified person to beat him, and I know how to get things done.
If you can be convinced that you cannot defeat Donald Trump, will you stand down?
It depends if the Lord Almighty comes out and tells me that, I might do that.
Well, I mean, on a more practical level, Washington Post just reported in the last hour that Senator Mark Warner is assembling a group of senators together to try and convince you to stand down because they don't.
You want to talk about dictator? You want to talk about someone abusing their power? This guy right here with his evil, shit-eating grin right here. Your own party telling you to step down and you smirk at it. That's a dictator.
I don't think you can win.
Well, Mark is a good man. We've never had that. He also tried to get the nomination too. Mark and I have a different perspective. I respect him.
And if Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and Nancy Pelosi come down and say, we're worried that if you stay in the race, we're going to lose the House and the Senate, how will you respond?
I go into detail with them. I've spoken to all of them in detail, including Jim Clyburn. Every one of them. They all said I should stay in the race. Stay in the race. None of the people said I should leave.
But if they do?
Well, it's like, they're not going to do that.
You sure?
Well, yeah, I'm sure. Look,
God, this is
if
bad.
the Lord Almighty came down and said, Joe, get out of the race, I get out of the race. The Lord Almighty's not coming down. I mean, these hypotheticals, George.
But it's not that hypothetical anymore. I grant that they have not requested the meeting.
I'm going to give George Stephanopoulos some credit. I do think that he's being way easier than he truly should be, but he is keeping a good tone. And I'll be like, I don't judge anything based on what I'm going to think or what you're going to think or what anybody that follows this stuff is going to think. I judge this based on what people in the middle are going to think, what the normies are going to think. The normies are going to look at this and think, man, that guy asked him some really respectable questions, and he was being very respectful of the president, and the president pretty much bombed on every single question. And that's the way that I tend to approach these things, because me and you, like all of us, follow this stuff to the point where we already understand a lot of the nuance involved in all of it. But the normies don't. Normies see this interview And George's questions are going to land perfectly from a normie standpoint, and they make Biden look terrible. They look terrible.
But it's been
Well,
reported.
I've met with them. I've met with a lot of these people. I've talked with them regularly. I had an hour conversation with Akeem. I had more time with that than Jim Clyburn. I spent time with many hours off and on the last little bit with Chuck Schumer. It's not like I had all the governors, all the governors.
I agree that the Lord Almighty is not going to come down, but if you are told reliably from your allies, from your friends and supporters in the Democratic Party, in the House and the Senate, that they're concerned you're going to lose the House and the Senate if you stay in, what will you do?
I'm not going to answer that question.
Wow.
It's not going to happen.
Whoa, that's a bad answer.
What's your plan to turn the campaign?
The answer would be, George, I appreciate the question. And in a hypothetical sense, if some of the most trusted people in my cabinet and within our party were to come to me with very serious concerns, I would clearly listen to them and take their concerns into serious consideration. The fact that he just says, I'm not answering that question, fucking terrible. Fucking terrible soundbite for Joe right there. Woo! One more time. And again, the way Stephanopoulos set it up plays well for the normies.
All the governors.
I agree that the Lord Almighty is not going to come down, but if you are told reliably from your allies, from your friends and supporters in the Democratic Party, in the House and the Senate, that they're concerned you're going to lose the House and the Senate if you stay in, what will you do?
I'm not going to answer that question. It's not going to happen.
Woo!
What's your plan to turn the campaign around?
You saw it today. How many people you get draw crowds like I drew today? You find me any more enthusiastic than today? Huh?
I mean, I don't think you want to play the crowd game. Donald Trump can draw big crowds. There's no question about that.
How you gonna
Oh my goodness. Holy shit. Holy shit. I was not expecting that. I was not expecting that. Holy crap. Holy crap.
I'm not going to answer that question. It's not going to happen.
What's your plan to turn the campaign around?
You saw it today. How many people you get draw crowds like I drew today? You find me any more enthusiastic than today? Huh?
I mean, I don't think you want to play the crowd game. Donald Trump can draw big crowds. There's no question about that.
How you can draw a big crowd, but what's he say? Who's he have? I'm the guy supposedly in trouble. We raised $38 million within 4 days after this. We have over 1 million individual contributors. Individual contributors. Less than $200. I mean, I've not seen what you're proposing.
You haven't seen the fall off in the polls. You haven't seen the reports of discontent in the Democratic Party, House Democrats, Senate Democrats.
I've seen it from the press.
You know, I've heard from dozens of your supporters over the last few days, and a variety of views. I grant you that. But the prevailing sentiment is this. They love you. And they will be forever grateful to you.
That's bullshit. That's bullshit.
For defeating Donald Trump in 2020. They think you've done a great job as president, a lot of the successes you outlined. But they are worried about you and the country.
He was building him up to tear him down, though. Classic, let me build you up so I can tear you down method. So I do understand what he was doing there. Build you up to tear you down.
For defeating Donald Trump in 2020. They think you've done a great job as president, a lot of the successes you outlined. But they are worried about you and the country, and they don't think you can win. They want you to go with grace, and they will cheer you if you do. What do you say to them?
I say the vast majority are not where those folks are. I don't doubt there's some folks there. Have you ever seen a group at time when elected officials running for office aren't a little worried? Have you ever seen that? I've not.
What?
Same thing happened in 2020.
What?
Oh, Biden, I don't know, man. What's he going to do? He may bring me down. He may.
Mr. President, I've never seen a president at 36% approval get reelected.
Well, I don't believe that's my approval rate. That's not what our polls show.
And if you stay in and Trump is elected and everything you're warning about comes to pass, how will you feel in January?
I feel as long as I gave it my all and I did the goodest job as I know I can do. That's what this is about. Look, George, think of it this way. You've heard me say this before. I think the United States and the world is at an inflection point where the things that happen in the next several years are going to determine what the next 6, 7 decades look like. And who's going to be able to hold NATO together like me? Who's going to be able to be in a position where I'm able to keep the Pacific Basin in a position where we're at least checkmating China now? Who's going to do that? Who has that reach? Who knows all these? We're going to have, I guess, a good way to judge me is you're going to have now the NATO conference here in the United States next week. Come listen. See what they say.
Mr. President, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
ABC News also offered a one-on-one interview to Donald Trump after the debate. He declined.
Damn right.
Let's bring in our political team for what they're hearing. Respondent John Carl. And John, you watched the interview. You've been talking to people all across Washington. What are you hearing?
Well, George, look, Biden looked better and certainly more coherent than he looked during the debate. But there was nothing in this interview that is calming nerves of jittery Democrats who fear that Joe Biden is on a trajectory to lose this race, to lose to Donald Trump. In fact, for some of those people, the interview is raising new concerns. Particularly the fact that he is unwilling or unaware of the fact that he is in a dire situation here regarding the campaign, that he is losing in the view of many Democrats. And frankly, in the polls you cited, that he is losing to Donald Trump. And there was one question that you asked where his answer is particularly, I believe, alarming to some of those Democrats. You asked him how he will feel in January if he has lost to Donald Trump and all that he has warned would happen came to pass. And this was his answer. He said, I'll feel as long as I gave it my all and did the best job I know I can do, that's what this is about. One prominent ally of the president simply responded to me, wow, when I asked about that question. So the bottom line here, there was nothing in this interview that will force Joe Biden out of the race. There was no, major thing that will convince him or any of his allies. I believe they have to go. But there's also nothing in this interview that will calm the nerves of Democrats who are saying it is time for him to get out.
Martha Raddatz, the president is talking to a lot of people, but he appears to be listening to a very tight circle.
A very tight circle, and administration officials I have spoken to said that very tight inner circle is telling them he can win, that he needs to keep going. This, of course, includes his wife, Jill, who said.
That it includes Hunter Biden. Okay, of course Hunter Biden wants Joe Biden to stay in the race. Hunter Biden is Joe Biden's number one guy right now. Like, that's his number one advisor. Hunter Biden is Joe Biden's number one advisor. This is amazing.
Is lashing out at those who want him to get out of the race. This was a Joe Biden pumped up on his inner circle, telling him that again and again. They think he will have many opportunities, but those not in the inner circle say this will also expose him to a great deal of risk. And George, I've talked to a few people too, and texting with a few people as well on the Hill. They say it was better than they expected, wasn't as bad as they expected, but that's a pretty low bar, George.
And Mary Bruce, what are you hearing from the White House?
George, the White House tonight reacting in one word, strong. Look, you heard the president there, and his team strongly do believe that this is all being overblown, that Joe Biden has been underestimated and written off before, only to come back strong and win. They believe if he can continue to do interviews like this, if he can continue to get out in front of the American people, that this too shall pass. But the president there truly didn't seem to grasp the severity of this moment, the magnitude of that growing chorus of concern from Democrats. He dismissed that, dismissed the trends that we are seeing in the polls. But what we are hearing from Democrats isn't concern about one bad night. They are concerned that Joe Biden doesn't have what it takes not only to continue governing, but that he has what it takes to win. But the president is adamant that he is still the best one to take on Donald Trump. And you heard there, he clearly doesn't want to entertain the possibility that Democrats may come to him and urge him to step aside, saying only the Lord Almighty could convince him of that, George.
Dude, what if Joe Biden really, like, what if he just doesn't do it? Like, what if he just, because he's got, now again, so I've floated the idea of, like, I don't know if the Jill Biden narrative is as believable as a lot of people, because, you know, the narrative out there is Jill Biden is controlling everything, yada, yada, yada. And I don't know if I believe that or not, because I believe that Barack Obama is the guy that is pulling the strings. And I've said this, and I can qualify that by saying, like, you can say whatever you want about Obama. Barack Obama is a very powerful and influential personality within the Democratic Party. He is the Democratic Party in a lot of ways. I mean, he is loved by corporate America, by Hollywood, by the mainstream media. Barack Obama is that guy with the Democrats. He just is. So the idea that Jill Biden is pulling the strings, I just don't believe it. But let's hypothetically say that the people that are in control of Joe are actually like Jill and Hunter. If that's true, he ain't going nowhere. He's not going anywhere, because there's no way that Hunter Biden wants his dad to not be the president. There's no way. Holy shit, this is wild, man. This is like a House of Cards episode. I've told you guys this 1,000 times. I'm a huge fan of that show outside of the final season. This is House of Cards level shit, man. It's what it is. This is House of Cards. This is what it is. This is wild.